at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday, January 25th. Barstool HQ, Barstool Sports in Manhattan, New York, exploded with drama. Welcome to the Kevin Clancy Show. I've been in this game over a decade, and I knew I needed a place where I could run wild on my own solo podcast, where I tell personal stories, I deep dive into conspiracy theories, we rip through the current events of the day, and we do sit-down conversations with the most interesting people on the internet. Make sure you click subscribe so you don't miss an episode. What's up, you mutts? It's another episode of the Kevin Clancy Show. A little new look. We're trying out the green screen room here at Barstool. Eventually, I believe I'll have a separate studio, get some new space here at Barstool HQ for this show. But right now, you know, we had the fucking breadneck episode. I'm not a redneck, I'm a breadneck. And then we had the fucking last week with the camera in the ceiling. What was very funny was watching everybody's responses who just didn't know the backstory. And they were like, what the fuck is going on with this podcast? Why are you looking up at me? I look like a girl who was blowing a dude. That was like porn POV, that whole episode. Now, I'm wearing the hoodie to hopefully cover any neck issue. We got the lighting right. I've got the MVMT movement spectacles to cover the bags under my eyes. I'm just hiding everything here, folks. I'm going to make you just punch in on just like my fucking eyes and my mouth. So we're in the green screen room, and we're going to continue to shuffle things up. Let me know if you have any preferences on how this show looks if you watch it on YouTube. If you still listen on audio, you're missing out. You gotta see this face, baby. So check it out on YouTube and subscribe to the KFC Radio channel. We'll get into the mailbox and all your questions. First, the great rivalry, the battle we've all been waiting for: Joe Rogan versus Neil Young. Who saw that one coming? Neil Young trying to force Spotify's hand, saying, if you don't drop Joe Rogan, I'm pulling my entire catalog from the Spotify channel. And I would have to imagine that Spotify just said, okie dokie, see you later, Neil. Click. Like, no fucking shot Spotify even considers siding with Neil Young on this, considering that Joe Rogan is probably the most popular person in media today, right? Like, it's Rogan, Barstool as a whole, and then specifically Dave is up there. I guess Howard Stern still has it. Not nearly what he once was, but of course you got to consider him in there, the godfather of this shit. But Rogan is like, 100 million fucking downloads. I saw an article that said he has 200 million monthly listeners. I mean, he is the straw that stirs the drink. He moves the needle. He brings the audience. He brings the guests. Spotify's not going to go out here and pay $100 million a year to have Joe Rogan exclusive and then be like, but, let me cater to Neil Young. And I don't think Neil Young is an idiot. I think he knows that he's Neil old. He's old as fuck. He knows that Spotify is not going to pick him over Joe Rogan, but I think he's just trying to make some noise in this argument. And it's a touchy one. Joe Rogan and the vaccine, and really everybody. It's not just Joe Rogan. It's just that Joe Rogan is the most popular with the most eyeballs and most ears, and so he's at the forefront of it all. But everybody and anybody who has discussed at length COVID and the vaccine, at some point, you all have looked like idiots. We all have looked like idiots because the situation is so dynamic and constantly changing that you can isolate and clip and clickbait all these different interviews, all these different discussions and segments, and you will look like a fucking moron based on new evidence, new science, and new circumstances. And that goes for both sides. I mean, we have seen that some of these outlandish approaches to containing COVID have proven to be ridiculous, have proven to be hypocritical. They've flip-flopped on masks a million times. They've flip-flopped on what the vaccine will do and won't do a million times. And also what's crazy is you got people who are still talking about the vaccine using COVID-19, 2019, early 2020 standards and applying them to Omicron, when that, it's, in my opinion, is almost like two entirely different viruses. It's like two different pandemics. The first one that was the real deal, that was overrunning hospitals and killing hundreds of thousands of people. And this one, which is much more like a flu that you have to take a little more serious because you don't want to infect old people or immunocompromised people. But for the most part, it's way, way, way less dangerous, and it's spreading more, but you're not killing people. You're not overrunning hospitals, and you're not taking out ventilators and whatnot. So everybody sounds like an asshole when you speak from any point of, I know this and you don't, I'm right and you're wrong. Because almost anybody and everybody who's been in that position, from Fauci down to your fucking, aunt and uncle at the Thanksgiving table, they have, asserted something that at the time was true or at the time had a piece of evidence to back it up that now is false. And we have completely flip-flopped. That's the reality of this kind of situation. That's the reality of a fucking pandemic. Shit changes. The way we we crush people for flip-flopping. And in general, in all discussions, flip-flopping is bad when you are flipping your entire your entire personality, your entire opinion on the actual crux of an argument. But flip-flopping also just means I learned more, or there's new evidence, or I found out something that, is contradictory to what I once thought, and now I've changed my mind. The people who flip-flop are often end up being the most mature people in the room because they're willing to say oh, fuck, I was wrong. Shit. Most people dig their fucking heels in, go searching for some confirmation bias type articles and evidence and studies, and hold on for dear life and try to prove that, no, I was never wrong in this situation. That's the most dangerous shit you can do as a person with a platform. Joe Rogan, I believe, is one of the more honest people when he comes to being wrong. Joe Rogan's on the record of saying he's wrong about things. Joe Rogan's on the record saying you shouldn't really be listening to me on any of this stuff. There's that famous clip of him being like, bro, I'm a meathead who smokes weed every night and makes dick jokes with my friends. You shouldn't be paying attention to anything I say. Joe Rogan I've seen posts of his on Instagram, which I love about. The main thing I love about Joe Rogan is when he says that he is keenly aware that his life and his stardom is completely disproportionate to who he is and what he does. He 100% recognizes that the fame that he has and the money that he makes and the amount of people that listen to him really makes no sense. And I think anybody who is a pretty normal guy or girl who has self-awareness and doesn't drink the fucking drug of fame and get a big head feels some of that. Joe feels it on the highest level because I think he legit has something like 120 million people watch and listen to his show. But there are times where Barstool, I feel the same way about Barstool, where it's I can't believe this number of people care about what I have to say or what I look like or what I wear or my opinion on this food or this TV show. Or then serious stuff where they're like, why haven't you spoken on racism? Why don't you speak up on your opinion on politics and the pandemic? And it's whoa, that is not what I am here to do, man. I never sought out to do this. I never wanted to talk about heavy issues or be, some sort of pundit or analyst for politics or sociological issues or any of that shit. I'm here to just fucking have interesting discussions and talk some shit. And as you get big enough and as you get better at this and as years and years go by where it's all right, how many times can I just talk about the Mets bullpen? Or how many times can I just joke about this guy breaking up with his girlfriend or whatever on KFC radio? You eventually start to talk about more serious stuff. But that does not mean at any point you have become an expert. And where I think a lot of the industry believes they have become experts or put themselves out there like that, act like they are experts, I think Joe Rogan's actually done a pretty good job of continually being I'm not an expert, dude. Now, that doesn't mean that he doesn't speak from a place of confidence. That doesn't mean that he doesn't believe the things he's saying. And that doesn't mean that he hasn't been wrong at times. I think Joe, at the end of the day, it's much less about the science of the vaccine and much more about the government side of the vaccine. I think a guy like Joe, I'm not going to speak for anybody, but I think it's much more about government mandates and forcing people to do things and painting, everybody with one brush, being like, you have to do this no matter if you're fat or in shape, or if you're young or you're old, or you're big or you're small, or whatever it may be. I think he has always had his opinions on it that have leaned more towards freedom to choose what to put in your body. Now, there was he had that scientist on relatively recently who flat out proved him wrong when he was, Joe was like, the vaccine can harm your heart more than COVID can. And this doctor was like, absolutely not. Look at this, check the science. Now, Rogan was able to pull up an article on some doctor from the UK who was backing up what he said. And that's the problem here, is that there is enough people fucking babbling, from doctors and scientists down to analysts and, like I said, the average schmuck with a Twitter account, that you can find information that proves every which way. And that's where I think it's dangerous to categorize shit as misinformation and disinformation. Like, Neil Young and the Joe Rogan haters are presenting him as like this malicious, arrogant know-it-all who is dangerous to society. And I don't think that's what Rogan is. I think that he's an opinionated guy who does a lot of research, and sometimes he's openly been like, oh, I got duped, like that video is fake, or this article was bullshit. I've seen him post the videos on Instagram being like, hand up, I was wrong. So he does a lot of his own research. He talks to experts in the field of all of these subjects that he covers. I think he does a good job of talking to people on both sides. And I think in some ways he's very liberal, in other ways he's very conservative politically, it sounds like, without knowing like who he votes for or what he thinks. But I just think that this idea, I think that people mix up like their jealousy and their anger towards how successful Rogan is with like his motives or his what he sets out to do. Like, I mean, Neil Young's painting this guy like he's a fucking monster. It's not like we're talking about like Alex Jones is on the platform and he was terrorizing, the families of Sandy Hook shootings. We're not talking about bad, evil people. This is a difference of opinion that, from a guy who has a really popular show because he keeps it real. Like the fact that Rogan doesn't change. I think when you get to a certain level, you think I have a responsibility in some way. I can't just go out there like every schmuck with a podcast and say all of the things I want to say and make all of the jokes I want to make. But I also don't think it's Joe Rogan's duty, nor is it in his best interest to change everything up because he's now this mega star, It's like the reason why he has 120 million people is because he talks the way he talks and acts the way he acts and interviews the way he interviews and speaks on his beliefs. If all of a sudden he were to be like, well, I can't say that because I haven't done like all of my research, but I've read this, but that's not enough. And if I say this, I might, what about the young people who listen? They might think it this and they might think that, and well, I'll piss off the other side. Then you're neutering yourself. Then you're ruining what the essence of your show is. I don't think it's Joe Rogan's, it's not his responsibility to make sure that everything he says is correct at all times when he is openly a stand-up comic who at the end of the day is putting on a show for entertainment purposes. If Joe Rogan or if a doctor or somebody was out there putting out a show that's like, this is information on how you should behave in this pandemic, and they were wrong or they were lying or not doing enough research and spreading misinformation, that's a whole different story. But when you boil this down, maybe he is speaking on topics outside of that realm. Maybe he has taken on a more, important role in the discourse of this whole situation. But at the end of the day, he's a podcast for entertainment. When we say shit that's wrong all the time, I'm like, I was wrong. And then, then what? And I guess the stakes are that much higher. But to have people being like, it's him or me, that's just a form of censorship that I don't think makes sense. I don't think his motives are to endanger anyone. I think his motives are to like encourage people to think for themselves and not be sheep and not be forced to do anything in the government and all that. And it's unfortunate if sometimes he's wrong and he reaches a whole bunch of people, but at the end of the day, he's not fucking babysitting all these people. So, and truly, at the end of the day, if you want to break it down to this exact battle, this just comes down to a business decision. This is not like I can't even think of anybody else who would challenge on Spotify. But if it was a Netflix situation and the guy who created Squid Game said, take down Dave Chappelle or I'm not putting out season 2, you might have a decision to make business-wise if you're Netflix. Who brings in the most money? Who brings in the most subscriptions? Chappelle, this new show, who's going to last the longest? But in Spotify's case, it's like, bro, we already gave this guy the bag. We've already put almost all of our eggs in his basket. We're rolling with Joe Rogan. And also, to the people who are Neil Young fans, that's the other thing, is you're dealing in this situation with two fan bases that are absolutely known to be like assholes. Like, the Joe Rogan fanboys are some of the worst out there. I like Joe Rogan. I only listen to him when he has on guests that I like. It's not really for him. It's more about he gets great guests and he does like 3-hour fun conversations with them. I would love, I have no qualm saying I would love to be him and like be on his level, or I should say. But the people who like live and die by all of everything he says, and they do treat it like, the religion of Rogantology, those people are absolute fucking mouth-breathing assholes. And then on the other side, you got like these classic rock hipster, hippy-dippy assholes who are like, Neil Young is a god, what are you talking about? It's like, dude, Spotify's main demographic has no idea who Neil Young is. I could walk around this office right now and ask everyone from generation, what is it, Z? Are they Gen Z or X? I don't know. Whichever one the young kids are, they would have no fucking clue who Neil Young is. They would maybe be able to tell you Sweet Caroline, right? I know Coming to America, Rockin' in the Free World, Sweet Caroline, and that he was in Saving Silverman. That's it. Anyone younger than me has no fucking clue. And the people who are like, Neil Young will live forever, where Joe Rogan is like a flash in the pan, Joe Rogan's going to live on forever too, bro. It's not like podcast doesn't last the way music does, but Joe Rogan's going to do this for another fucking 30 years. It's not like you're just buying like a quick flash in the pan here. He's here to fucking stay. So as far as this actual who you got showdown, Spotify is not even considering the other side of this, I would imagine. They're probably going to try to respectfully, reply to Neil Young, but I'm sure the real answer is like, go fuck yourself, dude. At the end of the day, anybody who is listening to any podcast and taking their word or their message or their recommendations and making drastic life decisions based on that, you are a colossal asshole. You are a sheep for doing that. You are a fucking moron. Because anybody in this industry, at the end of the day, is here for entertainment purposes and is here for clicks and views and downloads and money. It's like Jim Cramer giving out financial advice. He's a TV star now, bro. He's trying to get his views up for his television show. He's not the crack financial analyst he once was or purported to be. Anybody who's on camera, on the internet, yeah, you have your beliefs, you have your message, you want to deliver it, all that shit. But at the end of the day, I keep saying at the end of the day, it clearly is my crutch today. At the end of the day, Stephen A. Smith, these guys are just, and same thing with sports, same thing with Stephen A. and Skip and all these hot take artists. They're just here, and the news channels, Fox and CNN. CNN's in the mud with Joe Rogan. That's another thing. CNN blatantly lies about Joe Rogan. He has to defend himself. Now, because it's Joe Rogan versus CNN, people are acting like he's anti-vax because CNN is pro-vax and Joe Rogan's going against them. No, he's going against CNN because they lied about him and he wants to defend himself. That doesn't mean that he's anti-vax. So everybody just goes black or white, paints with a broad brush, and believes these people who are in the entertainment industry. It's like, shut the fuck up. And what sucks is I would tell you, just listen to the scientists and listen to the smart people, but they've been wrong. And they don't know what they're talking about because this is an ever-changing dynamic situation that is unprecedented, and it's all going to be different from day 1 to day 750. The other topic I want to talk about today, Brittany Matthews, a.k.a. Brittany Mahomes, a.k.a. Patrick Mahomes' wife. That's how we all pretty much know her. The blonde girl who was Patrick Mahomes' girlfriend, then fiance, now wife, mother of his child. She's an interesting character. Her and Jackson Mahomes are kind of this joint package that is a huge lightning rod in the world of sports. And she is an interesting character in the sense of I've been around long enough on the internet and in, you know, in the entertainment world and looking at sports at major athletes and major entertainers and actors and singers and how celebrity and fame works. And there are certain people, when they rise to prominence, they are either likable or unlikable. They either rub people the right way or the wrong way. There's something about them, and it's not necessarily their behavior. Well, it is their behavior, but sometimes it's not. It's just their presence, their aura. It might be the way they look. It might be the way they laugh. It might be their smile. They might look funny to you. Maybe in this case, it's the way they dance on TikTok. There's a whole smorgasbord of things that come together before you even know really who that person is or what they're about. You make your decision on them. And ordinarily, it's kind of a haves and have-nots situation where you're either people like you or they don't right off the bat. We could learn, think about it. What do you know about Brittany Matthews? You don't know anything. You could find out that she does charity work for children dying of cancer and that she saves puppies from burning buildings and that she's a great girl and everyone loves her and all this shit. But you've already made your decision based on her and her relationship with Patrick Mahomes and how she hangs out with Jackson Mahomes, how she married the number one quarterback in the league who got the $500 million deal, and she's cocky about it, and she cheers for the Chiefs and Mahomes and rubs it in your face, and she does these TikToks that annoy you. And you might think that she's not hot enough to be with Patrick Mahomes or that they had this baby and you have a problem with that. But at the end of the day, that's all weird shit from the general public about you being obsessed with and casting your opinion and your beliefs about this person you really don't know. And it happens to everybody. And I know it best. I mean, I know that I am one of those people that is very polarizing, where people look at the way I operate. They don't like my voice or an accent or how I laugh or what I say, and they hate me. They disagree with some of my takes, and they immediately, we butt heads. There are plenty of people who like me and are where I forget sometimes that people are born in different places and have different values and opinions, and I'm a city guy from the Northeast who believes in that shit and talks that way. And so if you're not, you hate me. And the people who grew up like me, they do like me. But I know that I'm one of those same polarizing people where right off the bat, people say, oh, he's got a punchable face, or I hate his voice, whatever. And, sometimes I would love to believe that comes from a place of jealousy or insecurity. But at the end of the day, I also, oh my God, I said it again. I mean, I can't. I was thinking about Dave Portnoy says, by the way, more than anybody. Dave Portnoy and Bert Kreischer. If you listen to them, listen for the by the way, and you'll hear it 25 times an episode. But I can't be throwing stones in a glass house made of at the end of the days. Shit. But I do know that I get judged right away. And I've even done it with Brittany and Jackson Mahomes. I find them to be irritating and grating. And I do think it's something about your appearance, and when you do jump on TikTok and you're doing these dances and shit, and it feels like you're just riding coattails. It's just like, what have they done? They just ride Patrick Mahomes' coattails. But there's a million other wives and girlfriends and family members of athletes that do the same shit that it doesn't rub you the wrong way. I don't know why. It's just something that happens in human nature. There are people that you like to look at and people that you hate to look at. There are people you root for and people you root against. I see it here all the time. People love Big Cat, they hate KFC. They love Dave, they don't like Feidelberg. However it shakes out, it's just human nature. And while I have certainly been on the side of like, everything you do just kind of makes me go, ugh. You know, that's what it really boils down to. There are certain people, when they do things, you just go, ugh, I don't know. And if a different person were to do the same exact thing, it'd be fine. I say with Feidelberg all the time. Feidelberg dresses like an asshole. But when he does it, he pulls it off. If I were to put on the same clothes as him, we're relatively the same size and same build, relatively the same kind of look. We're just like average white guys. I would look like an asshole. He looks like he's fashion forward. I don't know why. It's just this je ne sais quoi. It's pheromones or an aura, whatever you put out there. Brittany Murphy and Jackson Mahomes. I'm actually going to leave Jackson Mahomes out of it because he is in your face and there are stories about him being an asshole and being this entitled, condescending prick. So that sounds like there's actually some reasons to be like, Jackson Mahomes, you're an asshole. Patrick Mahomes' wife has been vilified by people. And at the end of the day, it's kind of fucked up. And she had this tweet yesterday saying, like, I just want to be able to do what I want to do and not be attacked every week. And this is in regards to this latest situation. She was spraying champagne into the crowd from her box when the Chiefs won arguably the most entertaining football game of all time to advance to the AFC Championship. Chiefs fans even mad at the wife of their franchise quarterback for celebrating a win in the playoffs by popping champagne. That is crazy. You can find her unlikable, you don't have to like her or what she does, but to be like I saw her tweet said, I just don't want to be attacked. The top reply was someone being like, some people don't like to drink. Some people don't want to be covered in champagne. Some people don't have designated drivers. It's like, what are you talking about? You get sprayed with one bottle of champagne in a section of a stadium with like 50, 75, 100 people, and you're acting like you need a driver to get home? You're acting like a tsunami hit you and you're soaking wet? You popped a bottle of champagne to celebrate a playoff win. If you're a football fan at that game and you're not down with that, you're a fucking loser. You got a dump in your pants. And anybody coming at this girl seriously, like attacking her and tweeting at her and all that kind of shit, you have to just admit to yourself, you don't like her. And that's why you don't like her behavior. If someone else did that, you would be cool with it. Like, I saw that and I was like, she's just, it's just, you know, people, this is the perfect, this is really what it is. It's cringe or not cringe. There are certain people, whenever they talk, laugh, joke, argue, act, whatever, it's cringy or not cringy. And it's a very abstract thing. I get it a lot. I know when I started as a Barstool personality, my best strength was writing. And I'm far and away the best at that. If you ask me in my heart of hearts, I think I'm the best blogger that's ever existed. And then I got into audio and podcasts, and it's a little different because it's those same jokes and the same opinions, but now I'm saying it. And the way you deliver it and how your voice sounds and all of that shit, your slang and your accent and your cadence and all that shit goes into it. And some people were like, oh, I liked you as a writer, but like I don't like the way you sound. Some people liked it. Then I went to video. And I know for a fact on video, I had a lot of work to be done. I knew as a video persona, it was kind of like, I liked him better as a blogger or as a podcaster. And I think I've gotten better, and then 1 Minute Man takes off, and I think I've powered through that. But there is that cringe. People talk about cringe all the time, and you don't really know how to explain it, but you know it when you feel it. And her spraying that bottle, I just go like, ugh. It's kind of just like not the best look. She's not doing anything wrong. Dave said it best on the rundown. If Josh Allen's girl did that, everyone would be like, oh, she's the fucking best. She's one of us. She's popping bottles. She's cool. Well, it wasn't Josh Allen. It was Brittany Matthews. And it's just like, But that's a far cry from like tweeting at her or DMing her or people talking shit about her. And it's like, I'm hypocritical in the sense that I definitely have been like, oh, Brittany Murphy and Brittany, whatever her name is, and Jackson Mahomes, like, you fucking suck. But the people who really take it personally and like go at her, especially the Chiefs fans, it's like, dude, she's just a 26-year-old girl who's like doing a TikTok dance. She's a 26-year-old girl, married the best athlete like in the world, and is celebrating their playoff win. Like, if anything, she's kind of like supporting her man, riding with the Mahomes family. it's a weird case. Like, I think you are fucking weird if you've got a real problem with Brittany and even Jackson Mahomes. Like, I've made fun of Jackson Mahomes a million times. I do think he's one of the most unlikable characters on the internet right now. But that's what he is. It's like a character on the internet. It's almost like hating an actor for the role they're playing. And I know that, it's different because they're not an actor and it's not a role, it's real life. But it's like, yeah, I don't know. Jackson Mahomes is just the younger brother of the superstar. He's riding his coattails. He looks weird and gangly when he does these dances. And it makes me want to say, get this the fuck off my screen. But if you, take that to heart and you have issues with that, or you have problems with the fact that, this young girl who married this guy has sprayed bottles of champagne or danced at the game, or I think one time she tweeted something about Tom Brady and people got upset. It's like, yeah, she's fucking putting on for her man. I'm not saying you have to like her, because again, I don't personally, I don't know anything about her, and my first gut reaction to that, the eyeball test, is one where you go, eh. I sympathize with her because I know people do the same exact thing to me. But just because that happens to me doesn't mean I'm just going to go out there and like every single person. I'm human too, where you have that cringe reaction. And it is what it is. But to take it further than that and have an issue with that, you're the fucking weirdo. If a guy you watch play ball is married to a girl and you take the time to attack her or message her or go at her, it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you, dude? Now again, if she was an asshole, if she was a gold digger and she was like Brittany Renner on Instagram is openly I like to trap men for their money and have babies with them and exploit them and shit. That's fine. You have some of these girls out there who are openly trashy about ball players and entertainers. I can understand you being fuck that. But I think anybody, if you go at these people, it's message them, take the time to explain what you don't like about them. It's Brittany Matthews might be one of the nicest fucking people in the world for all you know. It's a weird, weird world out here. And I'm also not going to be that's the internet. That's the mud. That's the world I live in. I'm not acting like I'm shocked over it. But this one is taken on, it's been going on for years. And now the latest to be oh, she popped a bottle of champagne in the playoffs. Come on. You have to admit that that's your bias. That the reason you don't like that is because you don't like her. It's not the action, it's the person doing it. And if you can't admit that, you're a fucking liar. And then if you can admit that, you gotta look in the mirror and be like, why the fuck do I hate this random girl so much? That's a little weird, bud. Last thing I want to touch upon before we get into the mailbox, Peter Dinklage is upset that the new Snow White that's coming out has the 7 dwarfs living in a cave. And he was like, Disney, I'll get you the exact quote. It's pretty scathing in a way. He says, what the fuck are you doing to Disney? He said, you're progressive in one way, but then you're still making that fucking backwards story about 7 dwarves living in a cave together. What the fuck are you doing, man? Have I done nothing to advance the cause from my soapbox? I guess I'm not loud enough. I don't know which studio that is, but they were so proud of it. All love and respect to the actress and all the people who thought they were doing the right thing, but I'm just what are you doing? So, the 7 dwarves, they used to live in the forest, but they had a house in the Snow White story. And now this animated live version or whatever they call it, they're living in a cave. And I guess that's a problem. I guess that's kind of you're denigrating them to be these hobbits who live in a cave or some shit. I don't know. But what if the story is, switched a little bit and they're people of the forest who live in the wilderness rather than just living in a house in society. I don't know. I don't think it's the most disrespectful thing I've heard. But I don't know. Dinklage is the fucking man. He is the primo little person right now. When he says I think if I had to elect a mayor of the Lollipop Guild, guys, he's the one right now. Him, Brad Williams, Wee Man. There's a few guys out there, but Dinklage obviously took the crown after Game of Thrones, and he's very vocal and upset about it. But I didn't think it was the most offensive thing I've ever heard. If it was I don't know, if we really stereotyped and generalized the dwarfs in a way that's like, oh, come on, man. Like if we made them all have like funny voices or high pitched or something that was like, this is not really what it is. Like little people are normal, they're just of smaller stature. I guess throwing them in a cave is disrespectful. And like I said, if Dinklage says it, then that's true. But some harsh ass words for Disney or whoever, it's got to be Disney doing Snow White, right? For Disney coming out with this. So you done fucked up because Dinklage got to be top 5 most likable people in the world. Up there with Keanu Reeves and Tom Hanks. Dinklage is right there. Like, nobody hates Dinklage. And what he says, a lot of people are going to support. So, I don't know, you better rewrite that shit and put them in a fucking cabin, man. You do not want the wrath of Dinklage and the dwarf community and the Disney freaks and the Game of Thrones fans and everybody coming at you because you decided to throw him in a cave for some fucking reason. Man, could you imagine just being like part of that cast who created that and you think you're all good and then you're like, Dinklage, fuck. Dinklage is going to war with us because we put him in a cave. Fuck, what do we do now? Should just follow the story. Put the dwarfs in a fucking house because that's how the story played in the beginning, and don't get cute with it because this is like they probably outthought themselves, overthought it, and next thing you know, you got the half man coming at you, and that's the type of smoke you do not want. Nobody wants to fuck with Dinklage. So I don't know how that plays. I don't know if the movie's complete or what. I don't know if they can go back on it and change it, but at this point, it's probably too late. And now all you're going to do is have this big premiere and this big to-do with people like Dinklage being like, you're insensitive assholes. Yikes. All right, mailbox time. Let's get to your questions. It's brought to you by Freshly. Fast food, it's like there can be food that is fast and it's not fast food. It's sort of like a parallelogram. A rectangle's a parallelogram, but a parallelogram is not necessarily a rectangle. Or you can have a girlfriend or you can have a girlfriend. Or you can have a criminal lawyer and a criminal lawyer. You know what I mean, man? I'm a businessman. Well, Freshly is food that is fast, but it's not fast food because it's quality meals that get delivered right to your door that you have ready to go. Other meals get sent to you. It needs to be prepped and it needs to be cooked. Freshly, done in 3 minutes, bro. 3 minutes. Think about that. That's the amount of time it takes to, for me to do other things. I can get a lot of things done in 3 minutes. Freshly, you'll have a meal on your table ready to go in 180 seconds. Nobody wants to make a whole meal after a long day. You're cooking for an hour, or you get home and you're starving and you're like, well, now I got to preheat this and I got to let this thaw out and I got to let this sit and I got to cook it and then let it sit again. And then when I'm done, I got to do the dishes. No. The prep and the work should match the satisfaction of the meal, you know? So if you just want to have a meal after work, 3 minutes to cook it, 3 minutes to eat it, you got your satisfaction, you got your fuel, you're good to go. That, to me, everything is in order and all proportional. It's chef-made, nutrient-packed meals, straight to your door, no cooking required. It's already cooked, you just got to heat it up and prepare it in those 3 minutes, and you got dinner to go. It fits your lifestyle if you're working, if you're on the go, if you're traveling, if you're just lazy, if you don't want to throw out bad and have all your groceries go bad, and you need all these pots and pans, and you need all this time. Doesn't matter. 3 minutes with Freshly. And they're all nutritionists designed by 50 different people at their company who are putting in their input to make it all delicious with full entrees and sides, good to go in just 3 minutes. Go to Freshly, FRESHLY.com/Clancy and get $40 off your first 2 orders. That's Freshly.com/Clancy for $40 off. Let's get to these questions. All right, here's the deal. So, this episode is kind of pieced together. I did the first half from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. Then I had interviews at 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock. So I was like, I'll do all that. I'll do the first half. I'll do my interviews. And then I'll come back and finish up the second half of the Kevin Clancy Show. At 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday, January 25th, Barstool HQ, Barstool Sports in Manhattan, New York, exploded with drama. So I head to my studio. I interview Kelsey Cook for an hour. We play foosball. She fucks up everybody in foosball. 3 o'clock, Ryan Long comes in. We talk to him. We do Answer the Internet. By the time I get out of this 3-hour recording block, I walk out to the bullpen at Barstool, and everyone's like, have you heard what's going on? Do you know what's happening right now? There is like 6 different fights, 6 different drama storylines going on at Barstool Sports right now, and I'm loving it because A, I'm not involved in any of it, and B, it's with all these new people that I don't really know or give a fuck about, so I'll talk about it with reckless abandon. In the past, it's like, well, if my boy is involved, and Keith is involved, and John's involved, and I gotta take his side, but I don't want to put him under the bus. He's my friend, but I disagree with him. What do I say? What do I do? This is a whole bunch of new people that I don't give a fuck about, so let's get into it. Where do I begin? Let's start with the girl who I believe is the most, and listen. I don't want to be sexist. I'm just stating facts here. It's just all girl drama. It's all girls. It's like, who let girls into Barstool Sports? Who let them into the club? Now it's all drama. Now it's all mean girls and fighting. But actually, I take that back, because at the center of it, at the center of this wild web we weave of drama and backstabbing and hypocrisy is a one Dave Portnoy. So it's not just chicks. It's a bunch of chicks and Dave. So it's kind of just all chicks. Anyway, the girl who I believe to be the most correct. No, I shouldn't even say that. It's the girl I believe to be most correct because she just flat out 100% factually is the most right and correct and in the clear, is Caitlyn Walker, Brandon Walker's sister. She works here. If you didn't know it, Brandon fucking Walker, his sister works here. She does a lot of like logistical coordinating, travel, and live events and all that kind of stuff. A godsend. Like those type of people don't get any credit, and they deserve so much credit because there's a million moving pieces, and we're all fucking prima donnas who don't want to book our own flights or get our own rental cars and shit. She takes care of all that for us. So, this story begins at and I'll be honest, I don't even know if all these details are right, but who gives a fuck? Just come along for the ride. This all begins at a Barstool Yak live show. The Yak do a live show at a club or a bar or whatever. Alex Bennett, new girl at Barstool. You may have seen her. I'm gonna tell you all the players here in case you don't know who they are. If you do know, just bear with me. Alex Bennett. You might have seen her. She's the blonde girl. She does content with her mom, Kim. They are the duo from Oklahoma. Her father-in-law is the owner of the Oklahoma City Thunder. She does Because I Said So. I like her. She's cool. So she goes to the Yak show. She gets fucked up at the after party. She's hammered, drunk, needs to be helped home. Who among us, you know? Not going to throw stones there. Everybody's had a night like that. So she's at the bar, like slumped over. Caitlyn Walker swoops in to take care of her. Caitlyn she's either sober or just less drunk. She calls up Alex's husband, says, yo, dude, you got to come get your girl. She's down bad. All good, right? That's what you're supposed to do. You're a good friend. After that phone call happens, Alex's phone rings. It's Hannah Cook, who is the weather girl for Barstool Advisors. She does some golf content now, but you've seen her for the past couple years being the weather girl on Advisors. She calls Alex's phone. Caitlyn picks up and says, hey, it's me, Caitlyn Walker. I'm taking care of Alex because she's too fucked up. Hannah says, why the fuck are you hanging out with Alex? She's a member of the content team, and you're a member of, operations. It's a bad look. You guys shouldn't be hanging out together. I mean, talk about just the most obnoxious fucking... And I'm sure this is all hearsay, and if you listen to the Dave Portnoy Show, Hannah jumped on, Caitlyn Walker jumped on. It's a he said, she said, I didn't say that. Yes, you did. I fully, 100% back and believe Caitlyn Walker. There's just no reason for her to lie. I think she's a stand-up girl. I trust in the Walker family blood. I know them, and I believe everything she says to be true. I think Hannah, for whatever fucking reason, thinking that content can't hang out with... I mean, in what world? Producers are like the most important people here. Listen, a lot of people can do this Barstool game where you crack some dick jokes and you stir the pot and have some drama. It's the producers who put it all together and shine it up real nice, and it's the people who help put on these live events and help secure ad deals and all the other shit that makes this into the media empire that it is. But Hannah Cook is part of this new generation of Barstool girls. So there's Hannah Cook, there's Publicity, Alyssa Amorosa. She does her show. She'll come into the picture later. There's Hannah Cook, there's Alyssa, there's Kat, who's been on Friday Night Pints before. I think she's just free of all this drama right now. She's cool. Alex Bennett, and who's the fifth? And Jordyn from Blocked and Obsessed, and she does like the 1 Minute Man type video for celebrity drama. So there's this new crew of girls, and they've been going out, and they've been posting pictures being like the next generation. There's a new girl group, which is all well and good if you guys are cool and friendly and nice. But if you're going to pull this mean girl drama bullshit, fuck that. Anybody can hang out with anybody, first of all. Second of all, to act like you are above people who are, in the logistics of it all, like fuck off with all that. Again, those people are so important. And in this world, maybe if you go to like a major network, the people on the Today Show are not hanging out with like PAs, and they're not hanging out with, the travel coordinators of NBC or whatever, because they're superstars, and these people are just kind of like behind the scenes people. Here at Barstool, there's like a razor thin line between content and production. Jackie and Nick and Pavs are basically part of the show. And we do a little bit more work on the content side. They do more work on the production side. So to act like at Barstool Sports there's no mixing of the two is patently ridiculous. As I understand it, Hannah calls into the Dave Portnoy Show to defend herself. Caitlyn Walker walks in, which is very nerve-wracking for anybody to just roll into the Dave Portnoy Show, let alone if you're not actually in content and you're never prepared to be on mic or in front of the camera. But she goes in there defending her own name. Hannah calls in from the hairdresser to defend herself. And as I understand it, got caught in like several lies where she was like, oh, I already apologized for this last Friday, but we didn't have work on Friday or Monday, whatever it was. It was an off day. She's all caught up in her lie because I think she just had a mean girl moment and was an asshole for whatever reason, was feeling herself because now all of a sudden she's a full-time hire. And she starts talking shit to this girl who does nothing except help prop up and help grow pretty much everybody's brand. So fuck that. Team Walker, 100,000%. Team Caitlyn Walker. Fuck Brandon Walker. But I am Team Caitlyn Walker, 100%. As I understand it, Dave took Hannah's side and was just like, this sounds just like girls being girls. I'm like, what? No. This sounds like a content person who has been here for like a cup of coffee as a full-time hire being blatantly rude to a girl whose entire job here is just to help out other people. So, fuck that. At the same time as all that's going on, Alex Bennett goes on a show with Jordyn Woodruff. Jordyn has this show called Blocked. Now, Blocked is just, you sit down with someone from Barstool and they tell a story about a time they were blocked by someone on social media. So Alex Bennett tells a story about this girl, what she wore, right? Yeah, we wore what? That's what it's called. So Danielle Bernstein once blocked Alex Bennett. She is on Twitter and I think on Instagram. We wore what? This girl, Danielle, as I understand it, I think she's like 27 years old. She's a big name in the fashion Instagram influencer world where she has built this like her own little empire of PR and fashion and is like this businesswoman who's absolutely killing it. Alex got blocked by her. Because as the story goes, in this one clip I watched, Alex Bennett was, forgive me for not knowing all these details, but I'm giving you the layman's report here. Alex Bennett was, wherever this girl Danielle was, Alex Bennett was there. And Alex was looking at her and seeing her, and she was like, oh, that's that girl Danielle Bernstein. And then Danielle would post pictures online that looked wildly different because she was photoshopping and face-tuning all of her pictures. So Alex was telling her friends, like, yo, I'm seeing that girl Danielle every day. She doesn't look like that in real life. So then this girl would post pictures. Alex would be in the comments and tag her friends and be like, yeah, this one's totally photoshopped. Now, to be honest, Alex Bennett is a gangster, and I like her a lot, and I like her mom a lot. That's a fucked up move. That's kind of a dickhead move. But at the same time, it's like, if you're going to post photoshops, like, that's the game. Like, but my thought is kind of like everybody photoshops and Facetunes, and to take the time to jump in the comments and tag people and be like, this is fake, this is photoshopped. It's, you know, you could do without that. So this girl, Danielle, blocks Alex. Now, Jordyn posts that show and posts that clip to promote it. Turns out that Danielle, We Wore What, is friends with one David Portnoy. She calls up Dave and is like, what is this about? You need to take that video down. What is Dave Diamond Hands in the Mud Internet 1.0 Barstool Sports founder do? He takes down the video. What? Because another employee is talking shit or making fun of or discussing one of your friends? We're pulling videos down? Because you got a personal friend who has a personal problem with this? That's allowed? Not my Barstool. Hashtag not my Barstool. There's a million fucking videos I would have taken down just for my own sake, let alone a fucking friend who calls me up. Somebody calls up Dave and says, if I went to Dave and I said, can you take that down? It's a bad look for me. Tell me to go fuck myself. But some fashion chick says take down that video, and he does? That's fucking crazy. Not my. Hashtag not my. If I knew that was the rules, I would have been pulling that card for the last 15 fucking years. And certainly the last 5. I would have been like, I'm not putting any of these videos up. Fuck you guys. So that's where Alex Bennett now is going back and forth with Dave Portnoy. And I'm telling you, I keep calling her a gangster because she's just quote tweeting and adding Portnoy, being like, you need to get thicker skin. People keep talking like in vague generalities. There's this Instagram influencer. Alex is like, just fucking tag her. What's the problem? At We Wore What? What's the issue? I was like, whoa! Now, that's some like mean girl shit. Well, I don't think she's the mean girl. I think she's just like, that's just like some bad bitch shit where it's like, you are not to be trifled with. She doesn't give a fuck who she's going toe to toe with. Again, I don't love the thing where she's in the comments being like, you photoshopped this, because like I bet you photoshopped some pictures too, and you don't want people. But also, you know, if you have the thin skin and you block someone, you're opening yourself up to situations like this. But at the end of the day, none of that really matters. What the point here is taking down Barstool videos because friends call up and say like, hey, I don't like that. Fuck that. So Alex Bennett is on the Dave Portnoy Show saying, if I'm mean girl Alex, then you're double standard Dave. At this girl, tell the story. I mean, there's not much. I don't think I've seen a situation with a newbie where they're going right at Dave. And I gotta be honest, unless there's some more to the story about this girl, that she somehow has power and influence over Barstool and Dave, why this video would ever come down. So, I'm Team Caitlyn Walker, anti-Team Cook. I'm Team Alex Bennett, anti-Team Dave. Then we've got the publicity drama. So this new Barstool Girls Hive Generation 2.0 has drama all over the place. Publicity, Alyssa Amorosa, she had a live show at the City Winery like a couple months ago, and then the Yak did their live show recently. And someone asked her, what do you think about the Yak live show? She said, I mean, it's no publicity live at City Winery, but it was a fine show.
It was good. It was no publicity live show at City Winery, but it was good.
That's when Owen, who is a producer of the Yak and a member of the Yak, jumps in and quote tweets. Viva La Stool posted the video. Then Alyssa commented and said, I mean, this is just a fact. I had working mics, a proper stage. Anyone that was at both shows would tell you facts are facts. Sounds like I think the Yak show was probably technologically not like the smoothest. But that's when Owen says, quote tweets her and says, it's sad that you've convinced yourself to act the way that you do. Alyssa replies, Owen, I'm so confused. It was a subtle joke, just how we all poke fun at each other. I'm not sure why it's being taken so seriously when we all tease. That night you were outwardly saying the show didn't go great, but when I agree on the bad guy. And then it sounds like there was more said between Alyssa and Owen off the record, not on social media, but you've got comments either being taken out of context or over-dramatized, but at the end of the day, there are comments about you being like, my show is better than yours, which at Barstool, a place where people's pride and ego are always in the line, and there's this unspoken rivalry and competition, and everyone's always trying to be the biggest and the best, that's never going to just go over smoothly like, hey, I was just joking, especially when you're doing it over social media. If I ever said something to Dan like, hey, yeah, I mean, PFT, KFC radio or whatever, and we were in the same room, kind of busting balls, and it's understood to be a joke, it'd be no problem. You say some shit online with a tweet, and all that shit gets taken out of context. You don't understand tone. Alyssa wasn't even in the office, so when everything in here is DEFCON 1, and it's Lord of the Flies, and people are like in the Office meme, everybody's shooting each other, and Alyssa's just kind of at home tweeting, being like, hey, what's the big deal? Like, what's the big deal? This office is on fire right now. So you've got publicity versus the yak, Alex Bennett versus Dave Portnoy. Jordyn Woodruff jumps in and wants to because she's the owner of Blocked, and it's her video that got taken down. So she's like, put my shit back up. I'm sick and tired of the men controlling the narrative. So Alex Bennett and Jordyn versus Dave and that influencer girl. You've got Caitlyn Walker versus Hannah Cook. It is an absolute bloodbath out here in the Barstool internet streets. And I am a 36-year-old man who has nothing to do with any of this, who doesn't have any real deep roots or connections to any of these people. I am Team Caitlyn Walker. I am slightly afraid of Alex Bennett and sort of agree with her on all her details. And everyone else I don't even deal with or want to know about. But man, this place has turned into its own goddamn reality show. And for years, it was a reality show for guys. It was always like, I always joke that Barstool was like Kardashians for the dudes. But now that we have this new crop of girls, they're their own. This is like Housewives. This is like Love and Hip Hop, except it's like in the blog world. And you got like Rhea and Fran and Kelly and Casey and the OG girls, Kate, all just like kicking back, being like, oh, what the fuck is all this shit about? But at the end of the day, there it is again. Fuck. But most importantly, this taking down of the video and siding with Hannah, I can't believe it. The video is like breaking the cardinal rule. It's like breaking the number one commandment of putting like personal shit over content. And now I'm sure Dave probably, like let's be honest, without putting anybody down, these are all new employees. A lot of these shows are still on the come up. A lot of them are not garnering like huge views yet. This girl, Danielle, maybe she's a big deal in the internet world for women and fashion and money and advertisers and stuff. Maybe Dave's thinking, this video that Jordyn is working on, this franchise she's working on is not worth the headache it's going to cause over here. But how are you supposed to grow your franchise to be on that level if you've got people censoring you every time one of your friends gets a little bent out of shape? That's some bullshit. As like a players union rep, I'd be like, wait a second. You can't be doing that to a blogger. You know how many times that I've disagreed with something or didn't like, how many like personal relationships I've had to mend or be like, hey, sorry, that's just what we do at Barstool. I'm still cool with you, but like Dave doesn't like you or Dan has a problem with you or whatever, where it's like, yeah, I'm friends with this person, but it sucks that my fellow blogger has beef with them and vice versa. How many times it's been like, that dude, like, fuck him. I can't believe you roll with him. And I just have to be like, yeah, that's the business. Like there are guys that other people at Barstool are friends with that I have beef with. Every time fucking I see Jared hanging out with Jeff Passan, I'm like, fuck that, dude. That guy sucks. Fuck that asshole. But also at the same time, I'm not going to begrudge Jared. It's not his beef. It's not his problem. He's going to go live his life and do his thing. So you can't start mixing the friends with business and taking sides. That is crazy. But man, oh man, this is getting out of hand out here, man. And then, of course, who's in the mix, stirring the pot up the most? Fucking Littlefinger, Gaz. stool sales guy in the mix, just being like, imagine if Alex Bennett tried to shut down any video that was talking poorly about the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's like, go off, Queen. Yes, Queen, because it's true. What if someone out here is like, the Thunder absolutely fucking suck, they're a trash organization and they need new ownership. Alex Bennett's not out here being like, take that down. That's my father-in-law. Because she's a fucking gangster, man. Content Kim will cut that throat, bro. So, I don't know, man. This is the new Barstool. And anybody who has a problem with it, it's like, you might not know all the characters, or you might like, the OG members more than the new people or whatever, but you get your daily drama. You get your drama's worth. Anybody, like back in the day when it was all of us fighting, now it's just new characters, but it is the same old drama and the same old fights, all about internet like nonsense. That's that's what we deal with. That's our currency here. Just cat fights and ego problems and fucking thin skin bullshit with influencers on either side that are all just insecure assholes. Welcome to the fucking internet. Welcome to the mud. And the best part is being the guy who's just been in the mud. I can't say the longest because Dave just predates me, but Dave gets out of the mud. He's in and out a lot, I have just been in the mud. I've become this like mud man where I have mud gills and I can breathe in the mud. I never get out of it. And I have been in here for at least the last 5 years and most of the last decade. And I'm just like, come on in. The water's warm. The mud is fine. Come on in, ladies. Let's have it out. And I can just watch here and watch the world fucking burn. I'm that meme with the little girl smiling on the swing set while the houses are burning down. That's me right now. You remember the movie Hook? Remember the movie Hook when Jack brings a clock into Captain Hook's quarters and there's no working clocks because Captain Hook's afraid of clocks because of the alligator, crocodile, and his shit's just ticking, tick, 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 tick. And Captain Hook orders Mr. Smee to start breaking all of the fucking clocks, and Jack is just sitting there with his little pocket watch laughing like, oh my God. That's me right now watching this shit burn down with all of these girls. It is a wild ride. Let's get to your questions.
Hannah tweeted.
Hannah Cook says, all I know is I was shit-faced and trying to help my friend who was also shit-faced. I was trying to make sure no one made content out of it and got her home safely. If I was rude, I'm sorry. I meant no harm. I thanked Caitlyn before I knew this was an issue. So if that's true, I can see, here's the problem though. If you thought that your friend was drunk and someone at Barstool was going to be making content, also, that's just the game, by the way. That's why I don't go to these parties and outings where everyone's drinking with coworkers, because at Barstool Sports, when you go out and get drunk with your coworkers, it's a headache, it's embarrassing, you hope that your boss didn't see you, and that's it. You go out and get shit-faced at Barstool Sports and make an ass of yourself, people are taking videos, you're trending on Twitter, you're on the Dave Portnoy Show, you're part of the content because you couldn't control yourself. We've seen it a million times with people getting shit-faced, people hooking up, all sorts of drama. But so if she thought that Alex was at the bar and someone was making content of her being drunk, I can understand where she would want to defend her friend. The problem is, as she said in her phone call, you're not content. Why are you hanging out with her? If it was a content person, if I called somebody's phone and Gaz picked up, I'd be like, oh, fuck. Gaz is going to put this person on blast. But if Caitlyn Walker picks up, I'm saying, yeah, she's in good hands. Because A, this is a trustworthy person, and B, this girl doesn't even have a huge following or a platform or a show to put this out on blast. So that kind of falls apart. Also, it sounds like when you were trying to make amends for this earlier, it did not go so well, and the apologies were not adding up. So I think this is just backtracking. But, at the end of the day, if you said you were trying to help your friend, and that's true, I don't know. That's suspect. But yeah, I'm going to have to do 1 minute, man, on this because the amount of people being like, wait, what's happened? I don't even know. I need to be a 10-minute man to explain all this here. But let's get into a couple questions here. All right, let's get into a few questions. If you want to submit a question, head over to the Kevin Clancy Show Twitter. We will pin the tweet that has the link for the mailbox there. We begin with this poor bastard, Vinny, who is just stuck in a tough spot with his mother-in-law. My wife's mother sends me weekly blog posts that she writes. We have been married just over a year, so I feel the obligation to read and give her feedback in some way. With that said, they are often long and tedious, and there's a million other things that I'd rather be doing. How long until I can stop? I mean, I just don't understand. People in general, but also parents, when you become so out of touch. And a lot of times it's with dads. Like, when do dads become dads? You know what I mean? Like, whether it's because when they start dressing goofy or talking goofy or they are just kind of socially awkward. At some point, everybody's dad was like the man. And maybe they're not like the fucking quarterback of the team and the prom king and, you know, the most popular guy. But in a certain circle or with a certain girl, like with your mother, they were cool and they were smooth and they convinced girls to fuck them and they liked to hang out and they were socially aware. And then something happens, you flip a switch, and it's probably because women fucking run the show and nag and break you down and you stop being yourself and stop having fun and you don't see your friends for 30 years and you don't care about current events and shit and you just don't keep up and the world starts to pass you by a little bit and eventually you're just like this goofy guy who just is like, I don't know what's happening. I've lost my marbles. But why and how? Like, I feel like because of my job, I stay plugged in to like the world a little bit more. Like, people always think I'm younger than I am, and I think that's because I just act that way, and I think I'll continue to do that. But if I stopped working here and then just was like taking care of my kids and like just working for a paycheck, would I just become like this weirdo who's so unaware, has no self-awareness? Like, this mom is writing blogs and thinks that her son-in-law wants to read it. Like, you know the number one reason why your blog fucking probably sucks and you're never going to get anywhere? Because you have no goddamn clue who and what should be reading this. Like, you have no idea what your target audience and market would be if you're trying to get your son-in-law, who's like 30 years younger and a dude, to read this blog of yours. Ugh. I mean, I get what you're saying where you want to be respectful and not piss off the mom. But geez, I would not keep doing this for a long time. I would give her like what you got to do is like the first one, you give some decent feedback. The second one, a little less. The second one, a little less. And then you get to the point where you just write like, awesome post. And then the next one, there's nothing. And you just wean her off of it. But fuck, I mean, I don't know. This should be something where you just don't have to reply. And tell your wife, like, get your mom to fucking stop. That's some bullshit. I feel like wives are always able to complain about the husband's mom and be like, oh, your mom is such a bitch or your mom's such a pain in the ass. But the minute you say something about the mom's wife, it's like, whoa, that's my mom. You can't say that. Like, your mom's blog sucks, bitch. Tell your mom's blog it sucks. That's what you should be able to say. This comes from Average Joe. Luke, he says, if you're hooking up with a girl and she says it's bigger than I expected, should that be taken as an insult or a compliment? Like, thanks for saying I don't have a small dick, or fuck you for telling me you're surprised I don't have a small dick. This happened to me with multiple girls. He says my dick is extremely average. That's the problem. If you got a hammer in your pants and you're not like this gigantic dude, it's going to surprise people. You know, if some fucking NFL athlete whips out, you know, a fucking baby arm, it's like, oh, that makes sense. He's like, you know, 6'9", 340. He's going to have a huge dick. If you look like me, if you're like, you know, if you're an average guy, you know, I guess average is like 5'7". If you're 5'7", 6, anywhere between 5'7" and 6 foot, and all of a sudden you got a white guy, you got a big dick, that's probably going to be surprising. But if you are one of those average guys, and they assumed you had a small dick, so if you're average height and build, and you have an average dick, and they say it's bigger than I thought, you know? If someone has a 10-inch dick and they say it's bigger than I thought, that could mean you still thought I had a 6-inch dick. but I'm huge. But if I'm a normal dude and you say it's bigger than I thought, that means you assumed I had like a 4-inch dick, which is absolutely an insult. You're just basically telling someone you give off little dick energy. So it's 100% an insult if you have an average dick. If you have a big dick, it's understandable. An average dick, why were you going ahead and making the assumption that I was small? I get this a lot with my height. Everybody sees me on camera, rarely sees me standing up. And when you do see me standing up, you always see me like around the same height as all the guys here. Turns out we just have a very abnormally tall company, or at least we did before this influx of new people who are fucking fighting each other left and right. But everyone's like stunned when they find out that I'm 6 feet tall. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? What, you all thought I was like a little midget? You all thought I was like, this 5'4" guy? What is that about? So I take offense to that, and that's like, this is like the dick version of that. So if I have an average dick, it's like, let's say it's 5 3/4, and you say it's bigger than I thought. Well, how fucking small did you think it was? And why would you be able to make any assumption? Well, I shouldn't say that. I was going to say, why would you be able to make any assumptions about someone based on their dick size? And with guys, you can, at least stereotypically speaking, you can say like, oh, this guy is very aggressive and like thin-skinned. What's it called when you're like very like, when you're like reactionary, when you're like, huh? Yeah, when you're like a hothead, when you're, what's the fucking word I'm looking for? When you're, oh man, my brain's becoming mush. But I was gonna say, if guy gives off that vibe where you're quick to snap, and it's like, oh, you must have a small dick, and you've grown up feeling like inferior, and you don't have the goods, so you're overcompensating. That's the word I'm looking for. When a guy's overcompensating, you can be like, it's a small dick. But like, there's a million reasons why a guy might have that personality, and nobody out here is ever like, I knew that chick was gonna have a loose pussy. Like, oh, I knew that she was gonna have some roast beef curtains down there. You have no fucking idea what someone's working with. You can be tall and huge and have a small dick. You can be a tiny guy and have a hammer. You can be cool with a good dick. You can be cool with a shitty dick. You can be a lame guy with a cock. You can be a lame guy with a micro penis. It's all a crapshoot, man. But I think if you have an average dick and someone's like surprised by that, well, then it's like, why the fuck would you think? Why do you think that in the first place? I'm just going to randomly read this one from some chick named Alexa. Like, do you guys get a lot of thirst DMs? Kevin is so hot. Just randomly throwing that out there, Just sometimes you just got to read whatever's there, you know what I mean? I'm a Bills fan. During the game Sunday, my brother and sister started texting and celebrating in the family group chat and began proclaiming the Bills as the winners. There was still 13 seconds left. My dad and I were floored when we read those messages. I mean, they absolutely mushed the game, right? The worst part is I'm the only one that actually cares and follows the team. My dad gave up years ago, and my siblings don't actually like football. I'm at a loss. Do I have to find a new family? I feel like I need to liquidate my pathetic little 401k and put it in a jar. Would love Jackie's take on this. We'll have to get her at next KFC Radio. But ordinarily, I would say, it was 13 seconds. Like, usually you're fucking good. 13 seconds. A fraction of a minute. Like, 999,999,999 times out of a million, you're good to go, probably literally. But two things. One, you were facing Mahomes. That's a problem. And two, you are the Buffalo Bills. If, like, this happened to the Patriots somehow, I would say you're in the clear if you texted someone 13 seconds left, the Patriots have won. These things don't happen to them. The Bills, and I know this as being a Mets fan, Jets fan, and Knicks fan, my antenna goes up when there is 13 seconds left. Like, I'm more comfortable when there's 4 minutes left because it's just like, I don't know, maybe we're just going to win this game. When there's 13 seconds left, what happens to me is I go, oh, now's the chance that we're going to make history as the biggest losers. Like when the Mets have a 10-run lead in the ninth, I get more nervous because I think, now is the time when the Mets do what the Mets do, and that's make history in the bad way. So when there's 13 seconds left, It's like I'd rather there be a couple minutes because then that would just be a normal loss, and the Bills don't do normal losses. They do heartbreaking losses. So, as a Bills fan or family member of a Bills fan, you gotta know that teams like the Bills and the Jets and the Lions and the perennial losers, until it's fucking 4 zeros, 0-0:00 on the clock, you don't say shit. All right, last question of the day here. If podcasting and Barstool went to shit and you had to find a new job, would you consider going back to the business world? Also, as someone also in accounting, I can't imagine ever going back once you get out. No chance I could ever go back. I mean, I guess I say no chance. If it was really like, it depends. If I have my Barstool money and I can do just what I want, you know what I am obsessed with, like, you know what I do, like, in my free time? I will just Google different surgeries and like animation. I'll be like backs, like a disc fusion animation, and I just watch how they do surgeries and watch how they it's a great one, plantar fasciitis surgery. You know what they do? They just go in there and they just cut that shit. It's like pulling and it hurts you, so they just snip it and they cut it in half and they just let it be. All that shit, how they do your ACL, how they like go into different parts of your body to do surgeries. I find all that wildly interesting. I would want to be like, I have so many problems with my back and my neck and all my, like, these problems with my body, that I think about all of like what's going on with my muscles. Like when I think about a knot, when you have a knot in your body, in your shoulder blades, I want to like go in there, get the muscle, take it out, and like tenderize it and hit it until that knot is gone. Like, what's going on when you say you have a knot in your muscle and it's like swollen? Like, why does that hurt? What is happening? Or like when you think about like I don't know. I guess I want to be like a fucking doctor or something, or like a physical therapist, or a dermatologist, dude. Oh, a dermatologist is my jam. Give me the grossest skin possible. Give me old men with blackheads and let me just sit there and pop and pick and scoop. Oh, it's so gross. I love it. I watch every night. I mean, if you go to my fucking Instagram, like, Discover page, if you will, whatever it is, it's half asses, half popping pimples. Like, literally, it's just like thoughts and then like gross. Oh, look at that one. Oh, that is disgusting. When they're so old, it's like black and then just, like whipped cream comes out of it. I would probably, if I could just start my own thing, I would be a dermatologist who also specializes in some sort of physical therapy. If I needed to go back out and make money, as much as I say like I would never go back to accounting, it's the only other job I've ever really done for a significant period of time where, I mean, it's not like riding a bike where I could all of a sudden just hop back into Excel and remember all the hotkeys, but it would eventually click and I would remember some things and I would have like somewhat of a start. So like you got to go where your skill set is to make some money. But no, ultimately the main thing I would do if I needed to get another job, I would do consulting. I would try to create the first ever, probably not first ever, someone's probably done this, but the best, because no one has the perspective that Barstool people have, the best internet-only PR firm. Like, I can't tell you about the old school ways of PR and appearances and brick and mortar stuff and all that shit, but if you want to know how to operate on the internet, I will tell you. What I suggest is one day when I retire from making the content, almost like in Catch Me If You Can, when they want to make the criminal, they want to make him into an FBI, like, check fraud officer, whatever they call it, investigator, I will go work for like a professional sports team. And before you do anything on the internet, I will tell you yes or no, red light or green light. Because I will be like, oh, nope, that's a tweet right there. I would blog about that, and I would clown you. Oh, that press release right there, you would be headline news tomorrow on the Barstool Rundown. Oh, you want to handle this injury that way? Nope, you're going to be made fun of forever. Because I just have the instinct of like, we would make fun of that, we would like that, this would become cool, this would become a thing, this would be, you'll get away with this, no, you won't get away with that. I'll be able to tell you because I fucking did it for however many years at that point. I can't believe they don't take people like us and just say like, hey, can I run this by you? What do you think? And I would say, I think that's the worst tweet of all time. Don't send it. Or I'd be like, yo, that's awesome. The people are going to fucking love it. So internet consulting is what I hope is in my future one day. When I'm too old and weird to be actually making the content, I will help you filter out your content. All right, that's it. Make sure that you hit the mailbox, and we'll do it next week on the Kevin Clancy Show. We're creeping up on 100,000 subscribers. It's all I've ever wanted for like the last decade is to get to 6 figures. So just fucking
Subscribe.
do it. I'm
Just
getting so
subscribe.
sick of being the amount. I see all these other people getting 100,000 subscribers and they're getting their plaques and they're not even close to the level of KFC Radio. They're not Barstool people. They're just like, they just get 100,000 people somehow and we can't. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for me. It's embarrassing for him. It's embarrassing for you. So click the fucking button. And even if you don't use YouTube, you just have a Gmail account. You just sign in and fucking click subscribe.